Hi guys, I'm Shmi, and today you join me at Brabus in Germany, where it's a lovely day and I've driven here in my two-seat convertible, the 675 LT Spider. But today I'm actually going to be chopping the keys from that to something a little bit smaller, the car behind me, the Brabus Ultimate 125. Now this is basically a Smart for two on the most juiced up of steroids you could ever imagine. Today we're going to take a full look around it and then go out for a test drive and see what this little thing is all about. So first, let's go for a walk around to talk all about this and go through the modifications and explain the story. So Brabus and Smart have been working together obviously for quite a long time now. Very, very popular little cars. The Brabus version coming basically from factory as the more sort of spruced up Smart for two that you can have. Now the Ultimate 125 takes that even further. It's built on a regular Brabus Smart, which is upgraded and has the modifications carried out in Brabus's workshop, which is located right here, where obviously they're more sort of regularly known for their 6x6 Mercedes-AMG G-classes or their S900 Brabus rockets. But this is something a little bit different. It is, however, given the same treatment in terms of performance upgrade, also in terms of interior, trim and finish. So I'm going to show you all of that as well. Let's talk a little bit about the engine, which is located back here. It's the 900cc three-cylinder turbocharged unit, but it goes up in this to 125 horsepower, hence the name, and hence the reason there are 125 of them being made. It also has 200 Newton meters, so your 0 to 100 kilometers an hour time, or 62 miles an hour, is chopped by 0.3 seconds down to 9.2 from 9.5, and your top speed is 175 kilometers an hour, which is 109 miles per hour, up 10 kilometers an hour, 6 miles an hour from the standard figures. So it's got a little bit of go, but the main thing here is to look also around the modifications. It's got the Widestar package, so you can see it has these more aggressive sort of flared fenders both at the front and also if we come down towards the rear as well, giving it, you know, more sort of aggressive appearance and the way it sits on the tarmac. It has new wheels. So the standard Smart has 16 inches and 17 inches. The Brabus Smart, the regular car, has 17 and 17. This car has 18-inch wheels. The tiny little Brabus Smart with 18-inch wheels on it, which is kind of funny, but really quite cool as well. If we come around towards the rear, it's got a new exhaust system sitting inside the new diffuser. So the diffuser here with the triple exhaust piped valve control system back there. The standard Brabus Smart would have one pipe on each side, and those are controlled through the different driving modes as you're out on the road. This is the convertible, so this car 52,800 euros. The coupe is 49,500 euros, but that is for the exclusivity, and for the Brabus car, as you see it here, they can build it in any color you would like. You can have any interior you would like. And it was launched in a sort of Tiffany blue, but this one in a slightly more sort of, I guess, regular colour scheme, the black with the red. It also has a new sort of lower front end as well that you can see down there. And if you have a Brabus Smart anyway, you already get sort of modifications like the Brabus grille and Brabus logo in the centre. But let's have a little look on the inside. Obviously this is a convertible. The roof folds back and you take these pieces out, and I'll show you that later on too. But in here, it's all been retrimmed. So basically everything you see in red is new Brabus leather with the quilting, the diamond quilting stitch in the centre of the seats, the Brabus embroidery on the headrest, if you can see up there. It's got a new look steering wheel with a slightly sort of flattened bottom. It still maintains the controls, but given a new steering wheel. You've got the Brabus door sill plaque, the Brabus pedals, the aluminium pedals down there, the carpets down at the bottom. You've also had this sort of central part of the door card retrimmed too. If we step in, lots of this is sort of standard 6-speed auto, the sort of entertainment system, little digital display in the central screen. It smells and feels like a brand new car in here. But this is something a little bit different for me. Let's actually take the key, which I have here. Yeah, pretty standard key. Pop that in and fire it up. Ooh, it's a raspy little thing. And you can hear those turbos. Get the air conditioning rolling because it is boiling today. To close, or open in this case, the roof, you would press this button and it will open up above me. You can have it, I think, going 2 stages, so it either goes just to there or you can press it all the way down, it'll go down to the back as well, and that's when you can lift out those sections, which I'll give an example of later. But we've got a nice 1 of 125 plaque up here. So basically it sits in this sort of ultra niche upmarket city car sort of category, if you could call it that, with the Aston Martin Signet, the Abarth 695 Tributo Ferrari, these cars that will sit in garages alongside plenty of other very, very nice cars, but make sense probably only in the city, but in that environment they do the job perfectly. It's strictly obviously two-seater, it's tiny, easy to park, easy to maneuver, but I'm basically going to experience what it's like to drive, where it's also sitting on lowering springs, by the way, so slightly sportier. But yeah, let's find out what this is about out on the road, give it a little run. Typically, if I'm visiting Brabus to test drive a car, you expect it to have a minimum of 500 horsepower. Maybe it has 600, maybe 700, perhaps even 800, or at the very top, 900 horsepower if you have the bi-turbo V12, like in the Maybach Rocket, for example. So Maybach trim in an extended S-Class with 900 horsepower and 1,500 Newton meters of torque. 1,500 Newton meters of torque. Now this car is substantially smaller. It also has substantially less power, 125 PS and 200 Newton meters. But if you look at the standard Smart, so the base model Smart, that has 71 horsepower. So more than a 50% increase to this. Even a Brabus Smart has 110 horsepower. So you're over 10% increase up to the ultimate 125. And that obviously is where you get the potential to go 175 kilometers an hour. Not that I think that is necessarily recommended. This is a car to drive around city, around town, and getting started like this, it vibrates a lot. The suspension is amazingly firm. You might want to keep the speeds down and not go over any bumpy roads, but it's smooth, it's gentle. The gearbox is actually quite nice. It has a 6-speed double clutch automatic, so the standard car has a 5-speed manual. For about £1,000 or so you get this 6-speed double clutch. Now it's obviously not up to the standards of a super luxury or supercar, but it seems pretty decent and it shifts quite smoothly most of the time. I've had 1 or 2 clunky gear shifts, and that might be me doing something silly, but you can also pop it into manual and you've got the paddles on the back of the steering wheel, which is pretty cool as well in a car like this. And you hear a lot of the turbo noise. It's quite loud in here, and I'm driving in eco mode, which is the quieter mode, but if I sort of accelerate and then lift off, you get a lot of turbo noise. Also the car sort of pivots itself quite a lot. You get a lot of sound and a nice sort of rasp on upshift too. That's really quite neat. The way it sort of almost burps. There we go. So you can put it back into drive just to be a little bit more gentle with the car. But you do also have a sport mode. So down here you can rotate between eco and sport. So this will have the exhaust valve open a bit more and be obviously slightly more aggressive on the shifting. Keep it in a lower gear for longer if possible, which is normally how we like to drive these kind of things. Although, like I said, this isn't necessarily the car you'll take to a twisty mountain road or a racetrack. But going along like this on a fairly smooth bit of tarmac, it does the job very nicely. Obviously I've got the roof up because it's so hot today. I am utterly boiling, but I'm going to put it back into manual, use the gear stick, drop down the gears and put my foot down, and away we go. You've got a rev counter up here on top of the dashboard and it pulls away, admittedly not very quickly, but that's not what this is for. So let's try and sort of like think about this. Let me put myself in the environment of being in the south of France, where obviously you'd have the roof down, just sort of cruising through a little village, a little town. And that's where it's definitely got more than enough power for that. It looks pretty cool with the upgraded package and the sort of Widestar body kit. And I guess it has this kind of exclusivity factor given how few of them there are. If you have this sat next to your Maybach Rocket and next to your sort of Brabus Adventure based on the G-Class 4x4 squared, massively raised up, huge machine, bit of a monster of a thing, then it's kind of cool to have it. Yeah, it's definitely very expensive. 52,800 euros for the convertible, 49,500 for the coupe version of this. But that's the sort of price of this kind of finish, you know, to have this kind of stitching in a car like this. As we cross over here, auto upshifts at the red line, which is about 6,000 RPM. It sounds kind of cool. Those turbos, sorry, turbo I should say, it's a single turbocharger, are more sort of familiar with a P1 or a Huayra than a Smart. You certainly don't expect that kind of noise out of a Smart. It's kind of fun when you put your foot down, how it sort of picks up, and then when you lift off, how it sort of drops back down to the front again. Different driving experience, that's for sure, for me. But it seems quite well equipped. You've got heated seats as well if you want them. The seats themselves are quite comfortable. Often you have in these sort of small cars seats that are really firm and eventually sort of get you and feel unpleasant. But just going along like this, gently and gradually, it seems pretty decent. I wonder if you can do the roof while you're moving. I haven't actually tried that yet. Yep. So you can open it the first part, which is sort of like a sunroof. So it'll stop and click in place above me, he says. Yeah, there we go. So then you've got this sort of large sunroof, and at this speed actually, just sort of slow 50 kilometers an hour, you don't feel any wind at all, which is quite nice. Then you've got the ability to push it all the way back as well, drop it down at the back, where probably I'll start to feel a little bit more, but have more of that kind of wind in the hair feeling. The noise. It's just kind of fun. I mean, that's what it should be, I guess. You know, these things are supposed to put a smile on your face, and so far this is doing quite a nice job of that. So, where shall I go now? I'm basically exploring here, seeing if I can find anywhere nice to drive, but avoiding the autobahns. Let's go this way. It picks up reasonably decently, actually. I got on the move just fine there. Trundling around. So the suspension is definitely firm. The steering is very, very go-kart-like, as you'd sort of expect it. But when you do hit any bumps, you definitely feel it all the way through. So kind of you want to drive this basically in Monaco, on the Monaco F1 track. That would be a pretty good place with the most perfect of smooth tarmac you can imagine for the Formula 1 race that's held there. Or that kind of thing, rather than, let's say, Italy, where the roads aren't necessarily the most well-maintained in the world, to be completely honest. I'm just playing around now with the noises that I can get this car to make. It auto shifts up, but you can flip it down manually and just give it a sort of gentle press. You hear so much turbo noise going on. That's really unusual. It's sort of this sucking vacuum feeling behind you. It's almost as if there's a roof scoop. It's almost like being in a car with the air being sucked in over the top of you. You can't actually see much of the engine, so there's no point in me trying to show you that later on. So first gear only goes up to about 40 kilometers an hour, but then you have all of these whooshes and swooshes. And like I said, basically the only cars I've driven like that are kind of hypercar territory. I am, however, going to close up the roof because it is definitely on the hot side for me today. And it does the first stage, and then you press and hold, and it will close all the way to the front, he says. So 50 kilometers an hour, it does that fine. And locks into place, and put it back into drive. This makes all sorts of strange noises that you aren't necessarily expecting. And if we put it back into eco, actually, and drive it gently, it will bounce along across the bumps. The seats are sort of supportive enough that it doesn't cause you too much trouble, but it would be pretty intense on a very long drive. There is no question about that. Let's have a look around here at some of the things I've mentioned and some more sort of detail of the interior of the Brabus Ultimate 125. And the first thing I'm going to talk about is sitting atop the dash here, the rev counter that's kind of its own thing with the Brabus logo in the center. Next to that, you've got the JBL speaker system down here. I guess it's integrated all around. The air vents are very easily positionable. The center ones, you can move them kind of in every way you could possibly want. So that's nice and easy. On the top, the hazard warnings are up here. Coming back towards the sort of driver display, you've got the speedometer around the top, curved over the top of the digital display in the center, which is controlled through the left side of the steering wheel. You've got a number of different pages of information, your trip info, eco percent score, 58%, I don't know if that's any good, temperature and service info. That stuff, so that's nice. Then down at the bottom you've got the limiter and cruise control settings. On the right you've got your audio, which obviously we'll come to that in a second. The paddles are good on the back of the steering wheel, metal, so nice feel to them. The way they've got the sort of holes in the hexagonal holes makes them feel generally good as well. That sort of also matches up quite nicely with the pedal set you've got down at the bottom with the illuminated Brabus logo on the footrest. Then in the center, you've got this display on the home screen here, your media, your eco score, 35% eco, that got a lot worse. Your navigation system, obviously I haven't used this, but it looks sort of visually easy to see and to use. I guess you can press various things and have different displays and menus and eco score. That's over, I guess, a long distance, so that's the general people who have driven this car, test driven. I presume giving it a good testing. Underneath that, you've got all your climate settings. This is interesting, the way this works, with the sort of magnifying glass in the center to see the number you've selected. Don't really like it that much, to be honest. But down here, you've got your roof button, and you've got Eco and Sport. And I mentioned briefly earlier the Brabus Ultimate 125 logo on there, and also on the side of the handbrake lever, which coming around, you've got this little armrest. Underneath here, you've got the USB and the cigarette sockets, should you want to use them. But you've got a kind of mix of materials. So the bits that are Brabus are really nice. So the steering wheel, this trim around the dash, but then there's lots of stuff that's sort of pretty cheap, to be honest, but than you would expect, because the base car is quite substantially cheaper than this one. Like I said, about a fifth of the price. You've got storage bucket here. If I actually open the door, I'm going to shut the car off for a moment. Like so. And step out just to sort of show you, I guess, around the car. You've got a little bit of luggage space. If we come to the back and open up the boot here, it opens downwards, which is substantially more convenient than the Abarth, which opens upwards in the convertible. So folding up means you have to kind of reach under it. You've got a little bit of storage. You'll get a few things back here. You've got a parcel shelf that you can pull forward and cover it up should you wish. The engine is in there, but you basically can't get to it. You'd have to unbolt lots of things to get into that, tucked away. And here, this is where you store the bits for the roof mechanism. So maybe I should actually show you this. So let's come around and give this a go. I don't know if you need the engine on to open the roof. Maybe you can do it with just the ignition. Yeah, you can. So that's opening behind me. Running back. And it clicks, and then we fold it all the way down to the rear. So that's in place. Then you step out. Ah, there's a nice little Brabus badge there in the door arch. And you have a button back here, but before I do that, let's open up the boot and just open up this case for those parts, just so I don't have to do it when I'm holding it. So stow that, and then come around here, and we find the button. It's pretty easy to do. This is an interesting test to see if you can do this one-handed. Then this goes in, I can tell, that way around. So that is in place there. We come around and grab the other one. Easier to do with the door open, so the glass doesn't get in the way. Pop it, release. Oh, I haven't quite released it. There we go. Lift that off. And then I believe this one goes, no, the other way up. It goes that way around. In there, like so. And you close that up. It will latch back in with these little buckles. He says, like so. Magic. Close that up. Come around and close the doors. And now it is fully open with the roll bar back here, just behind the rear. But there's your full convertible, done and dusted. So it's been quite an entertaining little thing to drive, this, no question about it. There are some things that could perhaps be more refined, but are very obviously hard to do so given it starts life as a basic Smart, which is not exactly the world's most prestige vehicle. It's a vehicle built for purpose, for in the city, for small kind of environments and purposes. And this is quite literally the ultimate version of that, the Brabus Ultimate 125. So something a little bit different for me to jump out of that kind of thing into that kind of thing, but interesting to drive nonetheless and see what it's about. So I hope you've enjoyed this look at a pretty exclusive vehicle, one of only 125 that are being made. Big thanks, of course, to Brabus for letting me take the car out for a little drive to see what it's like, and thank you to you guys as well for watching. That's it for now though. I'll catch up with you again very soon. Cheers.